It's by far and away the biggest city in Africa, with a population of 15 million. Its location on the River Nile has made it a cultural leader both in Africa and the Arab world. It is, of course, Cairo. It's a city which leads by example, and in football, it's no different. Clubs from Cairo have won 12 African club titles. Their nearest rival, Yaoundé in Cameroon, can boast just 5. And in the final of this year's African Champions Cup, Zamalek were aiming to make it 13. Behind the statistics, there lies an even greater story, involving this man, the Zamalek captain, Ismail Youssef. This year, Zamalek were aiming to be the first team to win the Champions Cup 4 times. Remarkably, 32-year-old Ismail Youssef has been a part of all 3 of Zamalek's previous wins. Zamalek first won the Champions Cup in 1984 when they beat their opponents in this year's final, Shooting Stars from Nigeria. And in the first leg in Cairo, they won 2-0, with both goals coming from Gamal Abdul Hamid. Zamalek then won the return in Nigeria to clinch the title. Ismail Youssef takes up the story.
I was a substitute for that second game. I have very fond memories of the match since it was the first time I'd been abroad with the first team. My brother Ibrahim Youssef was the captain of the side. He was the best player in Africa at the time. We succeeded in winning the game 1-0.
2 years later, Zamalek were back in the final again, this time against Africa Sports from the Côte d'Ivoire. Ismail Youssef had had a dream start to his career, part of a Zamalek team that was now growing in international stature. Once again, the first leg was in Cairo, and once again it was Gamal Abdul Hamid who gave Zamalek the lead. It was Ismail Youssef whose pass led to the second goal for a 2-0 win. In the second leg, however, Zamalek lost 2-0 and only won the cup on penalties in the hostile atmosphere of Abidjan.
In that game, there were some very strange incidents. Some of the Ivorian fans brought along pigs which they killed to try and put us off. Of course it affected us, we were intimidated. But eventually we won the match and took the cup for the second time.
The success story wasn't over. There was a third final in '93 against the Ashanti Kotoko of Ghana. After 2 0-0 draws, that save gave Zamalek the cup for a record equaling third time, and they won the trophy outright. 3 wins in 3 finals, and Ismail Youssef had been part of all of them. A remarkable achievement, but not a unique one. Afia Conakry from Guinea had won the cup 3 times in the 1970s, and several members of that team had 3 winners' medals. This is the area of Zamalek, close to the centre of Cairo. Formed in 1911 as Al Muqtalad, patronage from King Farouk ensured that Zamalek have always been known as the aristocrats. This is where Zamalek are based. Behind the gates is a huge sports club catering for many different sports. The stadium isn't used for league games anymore because access is only through the grounds of the club and isn't deemed safe, but it's not bad for a training ground. Income comes from the 22,000 members, each paying $10,000 a year, as well as from the shops which surround the complex, all of which are owned by the club. But as with most multi-sports clubs around the world, it's football which is the biggest and which feeds the budgets of the other sports. It was from the ranks of these kids that Ismail Youssef came to prominence.
I joined Zamalek because 2 things attracted me. Firstly, my elder brother Ibrahim Youssef was playing for Zamalek, and all my family were fans of the club. Secondly, Zamalek are renowned for their beautiful football. I've never left the club, and I never intend to leave until I've retired from football. God willing.
Zamalek had lost the first leg of this year's final against Shooting Stars, 2-1 away in Nigeria to set up an exciting second leg. But this is Africa, and incredibly, here in the Cairo International Stadium, most of the 80,000 people had to squeeze through just one gate to get to the game. By midday, 3 hours before kickoff, the stadium was nearly full. 80,000 fans creating one of the truly great sights in world football. A small band of Nigerians arrived, hoping that Shooting Stars could become the first Nigerian team to win the Champions Cup and become the first team to win the Champions Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup and the CAF Cup. Ismail Youssef and Zamalek hoping to write themselves into the record books. Shooting Stars hoping to put the record straight for Nigeria. Zamalek had promised to attack and they were as good as their word. Mehdi Abdul Hadi had his effort blocked. It fell to Ayman Mansour, and Abdul Hadi was there to finish off the move he'd started. 1-0 to Zamalek after 29 minutes. It was the influential Ashraf Kacham who set up the second goal after 66 minutes of a match Zamalek dominated. His tearing through ball found Tariq Mustafa, and it was easy for Ayman Mansour. Zamalek could have made sure of a comprehensive victory from this corner, but Kamal Kazi Said squandered the chance. It was to prove costly. With Zamalek coasting to victory, they relaxed with only a minute to go. Kubenga Okinawa found himself unmarked and levelled the scores 3-3 on aggregate. There's no extra time in African club competitions, so it was down to penalties. Good reason for the Nigerians to pray. Both Zamalek's victories in the 86 and 93 finals had come through penalties. With a score at 4 penalties each, it was sudden death. Johnson Ademola had to score. He thought he had. The referee said no. Zamalek, champions of Africa for a record 4th time. Ismail Youssef, the history maker, the only man to win 4 winners' medals, and following in the footsteps of his brother Ibrahim, captain in 84 and 86. There was also a first medal for veteran Ahmed El Kas, the star of Egypt's Italian 90 squad, along with Ismail Youssef. El Kas was transferred to Zamalek from unfashionable Olympic Alexandria only at the start of the season.
To win this cup was very important for me. We played very well today, and much of it was down to the incredible support of the spectators. God willing, we can win the cup for a 5th or 6th time.
Next week in Football Mondial, the first of 2 programmes looking back on the highlights of 1996. The colour and the characters.